You're listening to the Shipyard Cat Podcast, the unofficial SAFC podcast for fans everywhere.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the pod. Today it's Robin, I'll be hosting, and I'm joined as always by Adam and Kev. Adam, how are you today?
I'm not too bad, man. Good first couple of days back after the Christmas period, so as you can imagine, trying to get back into the normality of a routine. So other than that, mate, all good.
Yeah, I mean, it's that sort of like in-betweenness, isn't it? It's a bit tricky to know even what day of the week it is, never mind with all the fixtures, which, thanks to Sky in the Premier League, they moved around for us. So, Kev, how are you dealing with the uncertainty over what day it is?
Well, mate, I thought, yesterday was Boxing Day, wasn't it? Aren't you meant to play football on Boxing Day? Isn't that the rules?
Well, sort of, but I think there's only one club are allowed to play on Boxing Day now. I think they got a lot of money in that and then embarrass themselves by losing again. But, I think money counts for a lot of things there. But look, let's not digress into stuff like that and let's get cracking straight away. Short turnaround, so we're going to be reviewing the Leeds game and previewing the Man City game on New Year's Day and not what should have been tomorrow night, basically Tuesday, or tonight, depending on if you're listening to it then, or yesterday if you're even listening to it on Wednesday. So yeah, it's a bit all over the place. So look, we'll start with Leeds. 1-1 draw. I don't think many of us can complain with that. I'll just briefly go through it, lads. I mean, to me, I think we bossed the first half. They started off, had a decent chance, should have probably done better. And then we grew into the game. Simon Adingra scored an absolutely brilliant goal, but again, what an amazing pass by Granit Xhaka. He split four defenders. It looked in all the world that it was going to go back to Mukiela, who just put the long throw in, and he reverses the ball back, and that finish by Adingra, something else. I mean, Adam, your take on it?
Yeah, mate, I'm in complete agreement with you there. Just that's the second time he's done something similar to that. It looks like he's going to put it one way and he's just shifted it completely the opposite direction, and the players got onto it and put it in the back of the net. And as you said, I think I've watched that Adingra's all different angles from the club that they put out about 5 times today because it is actually something different.
Yeah, maybe that's why you finished work late, because you weren't actually concentrating on doing your job. But hey ho, we'll get on. Obviously, rather than bring Kevin, because I know his dog's sitting in that, so he's in and out today again. But I'll put you straight on it. It was to Traore for Traore's goal that Xhaka had done the similar reverse ball, but on the opposite side of the box. I've got to bring you in though, Kev. I mean, the goal. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a cracking finish. Xhaka with a no-look pass. When you look at the replays, at one point he's actually looking towards the tunnel. And that, like you say, it's the second time he's done that now, and it's resulted in a goal. To be fair, he's done the no-look pass a couple of times just in general play, and yeah, just outstanding. I feel we were unlucky not to get a second, but it's one of those, isn't it? 1-0's at half time are always a dodgy scoreline to go in, because your team talk's going to be go and get a second, and for the opposition, it's go and get a quick equaliser. Well, I know you're hosting, mate, but that's exactly what Leeds did. Second half, they did a Sunderland to Sunderland.
Yeah, I mean, to me, we'll finish up the first half quickly there first. Obviously, Robbie had 2 good chances. One, he dinked it over the keeper. Again, I think that's 3 now where we've been through 1-on-1 with the keeper and failed to score. Just never got enough on it. Obviously, he was then clattered by the keeper after. Everywhere else on the pitch, that's a card and a free kick. I'm not sure why the referee didn't give it. Maybe because he got his shot away. But VAR should really have intervened there. I don't understand how they didn't. It was as blatant a late challenge as you can get. And the fact is, he never really went with it with his hands either. Normally I've got a bit of sympathy with the keeper if he's trying to get the ball and he's going with his hands because he's actually trying to make an attempt to save the ball. You know, he just basically wiped out Robbie. And then before we could even complain about that, you know, obviously he puts a header off the bar. You know, so rather than 2-0 or possibly even 3-0 at half time, you know, we only go in 1-0. You know, I mean, lads, your thoughts on the potential penalty?
For me, I see where you're coming from in regards keepers came out and absolutely clattered them. But if you look, there was another instance in the Premier League during the weekend as well that something similar happened and nothing was given again. So I don't know if it's that they're trying to possibly protect keepers a little bit more than normal. I think that because I think there was an incident in Brighton versus Arsenal. I know it was completely outside the box, but that wasn't him given as a card, I don't believe. And it's just like I see where you're coming from. Like to me, yeah, I would love to say yes, Stonewall Pen, give us it. But when you've got an incident like that in another game that wasn't even carded, it's one of those things. It's going to balance itself out eventually in the season, isn't it? So
Yeah, I mean, like I said, go on, Kev.
No, I think the difference with ours and the one in the Brighton game is the keeper does get a touch on the Brighton one and kicks it into row Z. With our one, Perry's nowhere near the ball. His objective there is to stop Robbie. The problem is, and I think this is where the referee defends himself, is he basically says Robbie isn't in control of the ball because he's knocked it too far. But like Robin said, anywhere else on the pitch, and probably in 18 of the 20 fixtures in the Premier League, or 18 teams out of the 20, that's probably against pen. But when it comes to, as I said before, the newly promoted sides, the referees seem to have that almost like toughen up mentality, and it's not given. I don't think us, Leeds, Burnley get that given. That happens to Haaland, it's a pen. That happens to Gyökeres, that's a pen. Us, we get told to move on. There was another incident the referee got wrong earlier on in the game where they went through the back of one of our players, middle of the pitch, and the referee spends 3 minutes gesturing the ball emotion. He didn't touch the ball, he went through Sirkin. But yeah, the less said about the officiating, the better, because otherwise this would be another 40-minute pod just talking about shit referees.
Yeah, no, look, I'm gonna agree with you there, Kev. I do think that if it's not one of the newly promoted teams, it gets given. I do find it bizarre. I mean, the thing is, to me, like I said, if a keeper goes with it and makes a genuine attempt to the ball, I don't think you give it. But the fact that, to me, Perry never actually made an attempt for the ball, he just clattered the player. To me, that's a penalty all day long. But look, finished 1-0 at the half, moving into the second half, and not being funny, but Leeds tore us apart. That goal from back to front was phenomenal football. And at times, you've just got to hold your hands up and say, well played. I mean, I don't think you lads are going to disagree with that. If you want to, by all means, chirp in. But I think the less said about that goal, the better, because, you know, it's not going to happen every week. Would Ballard have made a difference on the pitch? Probably not. You know, Calvert-Lewin's in good goal-scoring form at the minute. And I mean, he's was it 7 goals in 6 games or something like that? And I mean, every single goal that he scored has been on a straight line from the penalty spot to the goal line. You know, he's getting himself in those positions. It's at times that we could do with somebody like that, you know, who's just prepared to get in that position. I think he's a great sign. I think he's actually the difference in Leeds staying up and going down, to be honest. If they keep him fit, I can see them doing enough to stay up. And yeah, look, second half, they were the better team. I think they pretty much battered us. We didn't get control of the ball. You know, we seemed to be giving the ball back to them instantly. You know, there seemed to be a bit of a lack of composure at the back. Maybe it was a Ballard thing. Maybe, obviously, Sirkin coming back in the team. You know, obviously, you got to think there's a change there in the back from the last game with Ballard missing as well. Like I say, it's a tough one, obviously, with Ronaldo off at AFCON. Looks like they're going to qualify. Mozambique, so he's going to be there an extended period of time as well. But Sirkin, to me, is a wing back. He's great going forward, but defensively, I think he gets beat inside too often. And I think that was the case, yesterday. He got caught a few times. Look, it's his first game back in God knows how long properly. We know he's played for the unders, but that's his Premier League debut as well. I think he had a decent enough game. I'm not going to rip him to shreds or anything like that, but I certainly see the difference myself in obviously Ronaldo and him. Ronaldo goes forward very well as well, but he gets back and defends a bit better.
Mm.
Look, I don't know if you lads have got anything else to say on the Leeds match. By all means, if you want to chirp in.
Only thing I wanted to touch on with the Sirkin thing, for me, I'm in agreement with you. I think it was a good overall game for the lad. Obviously, it's his first Premier League game. And what I do like about Sirkin, this will be the moment where he will then continue to grow. He'll learn from those potential little mistakes that he's made in that game and go, right, what do I need to do right to fix the wrong? And I think that's what Regis will sit down with him and go, you had a good debut for your Premier League thing. This is where we need to work on. This is what we can improve on. Hopefully, obviously, when we come on to speaking about City, I know we haven't had the press yet, but hopefully Ballard's back. I see Ballard coming straight back in the team if he is fit enough to come back in the fold.
Well, yeah, Ballard thing. I mean, obviously, Labrie said this has come a bit too quick for me. And I mean, there's rumours all around today that he's out for 6 weeks. I mean, who knows what the truth of the matter is. I do agree. We do need him back. It's a bad time to be losing him. With the AFCON and then players short. I mean, I think we did all right yesterday. The 2 games that we played now, obviously Brighton away and then Leeds, who are in form at home. To be missing them players that have gone to AFCON and still get, I'm going to say, positive results. Because let's face it, when we looked at that result, or the fixtures, when they came out and we looked at December, Liverpool, Man City, visitors, Brighton away, Leeds, Man City again. You looked at that and everyone thought, well, you're getting no points in December at all. And the fact that we've managed to pick up, 6 points so far?
6 out of 12, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad return to me. So I think, we're doing all right there. But you just look at the bench yesterday. Obviously, Harrison and Jensen Jones on the bench, Timo Tutorov on the bench. It was a bit of a weak bench. Hjelde back on the bench after his injury layoff. They say, there was some risks there by putting these people on the bench. I mean, realistically, would he have or should he have even put them on the bench? I know you can fill your 9 places up, but, I'd say especially Hjelde, Tutorov and Jensen Jones, which haven't featured at all, were they really going to get on the pitch anyway?
No.
Exactly. So
I was
to
going to
me,
say the only way for Hjelde to get on is if there was an injury to Sirkin. But then, do you even take that risk of putting Hjelde on?
well, this
just
is the
think
thing.
it's bums on seats.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, Robin, but it was literally just bums on seats. Worst case scenario, if I need, can I resort to? And that's all they were. At one point, I heard the person behind me shouting, "Change it." There was a few more expletives in there, but it was "change it." And I think Regis was looking at the clock going, well, I'm 60 minutes in, looking at the bench and going, but who? Because by that point, Riggy was cooked. All respect to the kid, he was absolutely on toast. He was exhausted. He'd been knocked about. Because let's be honest, biggest part of Leeds' game was just kicking you until you were done. Yes, there was some nice football in there occasionally, but the majority of it was just attack, attack, attack physically until you submit. I'm sorry, but how they got out of that game with not a single card is beyond me. And also the time wasting. Time wasting from the 10th minute. And then when we start doing it, they get gobby. You know,
Didn't have a
Ampadu
card,
kicking
but
off.
had somebody didn't have a card, but had somebody pretty much stretch it off.
No, look, yeah, the tackle on Rodon is the tackle on Rodon, but you know, if he's that injured, he should be coming off. Instead, he spends 40 minutes hobbling around
Yeah.
until they can get Tanaka ready. But yeah, Perry time wasting, wasn't stamped out. Like I say, they're just non-stop gamesmanship. Let's keep it friendly. All went in Leeds' favour, and I wasn't a fan of it. You know, for me, that's one real thing that they need to sort out. You know, the way that's sort of going on, and yeah, the officials are just letting the games go that way, and it didn't work. But yeah, hopefully next game we do see some players return, or Regis gets it right in terms of the shape, because I just feel we were almost too defensive. But I said this to you lads off pod. We always struggle when we play teams that don't like to play proper football. When teams like to do like Burnley do, like Leeds do. I said to you at the start of the season that our two bogey teams were probably going to be them two.
Mhm.
And so far, I would say they have been. But
Yeah.
can we move on from Leeds before they think they've won the league?
Yeah, well, perfect way to move on, Kev. Thank you, mate. Right, so Man City at home. Obviously, it's going to be a very, very tricky game. It's one of those that everyone else plays before us. So the likes of Arsenal, Villa, their results will already have come in. So Man City knowing what exactly they have to do to make up the point differential, if there is one, etc. So Adam, I'm going to come to you first on this.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel we're going to set up against City?
For me, if Ballard's back, I see potentially shifting back to a back five. And I think Geertruida will drop back. Because don't get me wrong, against touching back on these slightly, he did well where he was put in, position wise. I think he did very well there. But I do see him dropping back to a back five against Man City because, as you've just put the right thing in context there, once again, we're playing City with them already knowing the result of other teams around them. So it's Regis's turn to go, I'm going to play my card and I'm going to stop this, especially at home, and we're still undefeated. I think it's going to be more tricky for them to come to us than us going to them.
Right. Just a quick one there. I don't want to clarify it because you've actually thrown me here. Who's missing out?
I would take Circum back out.
Right. So where would you put? Who would you put as left wing back?
Ukulele, and then keep Hume on the right.
Yeah. All right then. Yeah. Right. So yeah, that's why I'm confused because obviously you're talking rubbish. But that's your opinion, and we'll leave it at that. Yeah, look, if Ballard's back and you bring Hertrauder in, then, you know, a lad who's played left back before, surely you'd be putting him across there. I don't think that would be the case. I don't think Ballard's going to be back. I think Hertrauder might well go into a back five with Mukiele and Alderete. In the centre three, Hume on the right and Serkin on the left, because as I just said previously, Serkin's more suited to that wing back role. What I'd like to see though is following on from what Kev said, really, because Riggy was absolutely shattered.
Mm-hmm.
And when Mayenda came on against Leeds, he was trying to go forward with the ball. But he's not the finished article by a long way.
Yeah.
But to me, he offers us something different that Manchester City aren't going to like.
Yeah.
Because Mayenda's very direct, he's physical, he's quick, and he will run at people. And as with the previous game against City, obviously Guardiola was very, very lucky to stay on the pitch, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how that was waved away by VAR so quick, I do not know. But, they did. I actually think '09 might be back as well because his 3-match ban is up.
Indeed it is.
Not that I particularly want him to be making an appearance on the pitch. I mean, I do think, obviously, the Premier League's possibly a step too high for Luke. He's played in it twice, got sent off once. It's just one of those things. But, yeah, I personally would like to see Elijah given the opportunity, from the start. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But, I think we should probably be looking at maybe a 5-3-2, I'm going to say. Lefay, Xhaka and Adingra with maybe Maenda and Robbie up top, or Maenda and Isidore up top. I think just that different shape might throw City a bit. Look, we know there's going to be possession. We know they're going to be there. But I've said it before, defensively, they're quite weak, especially when you counter them with pace. And I don't think we really did it in the last game. I think we gave up too much possession. Yeah, there was 2 quick goals, which really killed the game off. But I think if we start positive and, like I say, have that threat, and if we have, say, an Isidore and a Maenda, or a Brobby and a Maenda. I mean, I actually think Brobby and Maenda would work really well because Maenda's got the pace and Brobby will get the ball and hold it up and lay it off to Maenda. It's a bit harsh on Wilson because obviously he's done it before anyway, but Brobby's hold-up play is stronger to me. And I think he'd maybe be the better option to do that. But I'd like us to maybe go as a 5-3-2 or a 3-5-2, a 3-2-3-2, whatever way you want to do it with the wing backs. Obviously when we're out possession, we're going to drop. We're going to drop into a 2 banks of 5. To me, I think that's going to be the natural way that we're going to defend. But then it's when we get the ball and counter, I think whoever them front 2 are then have really got to be getting up the pitch as quick as they can.
I do see where you come from with the Maenda Brobby bit, because to me, I think that would actually work against City because of Robbie's strength. We've seen it against Chelsea, where the ball can be pumped up to him by, say, Roofs or even Lefay, and his hold-up play is just phenomenal. His strength to hold off defenders while the others are coming up the field. I think if he can then lay it off to, say, Maenda, as you've hit the nail on the head there, Robin. Mayenda's got speed. He's not afraid to run at anybody in this league or anybody. So I think that would make sense. Lay it off to Mayenda, and then Mayenda just hopefully gets a decent shot away and puts in the back of the net.
Kev, will bring you in quickly. Your thoughts on a maybe change of formation and 2 up top?
I would love to see it because I would take the City game as a free hit. We're expected to lose. City are on a 6-game unbeaten streak, I believe. So yes, they are weak in defence, but you've got to bear in mind they've got Cherky, Reindeers, they've got Haaland. They're not exactly a weak side. Do you know what I mean? They're just, they are lacking a little bit defensively. But yeah, I would take this one as a free hit and maybe, like you say, mix it up a little bit with the formation, try something different. If it works, brilliant. If it doesn't work, you've got enough time, if it doesn't work early on, to make changes, and the only thing for me really is just try not to make this an embarrassment. Do you know what I mean? We don't want to be getting turned over 3, 4, 5-0 at home, because then the whole bubble burst mentality will happen. That's one thing I think our fans have possibly created our own problem with, and don't shoot me down here, because we have done so well, fans have forgotten we only just got promoted this year. Getting Aggie because we're drawing 1-1 with Leeds in the 90th minute. I don't understand the mentality of losing our tempers at the manager and with each other on fans shouting at each other because we're drawing. At the end of the day, we're seventh in the table. We've already matched Wolves' points for last season, and they were safe last year fairly comfortably. Different story this season, but do you know what I mean? And I think for me, you treat Man City as a free hit at home, and try, you said, Robin, try something maybe a little bit different. And look, if we come out of the weekend with a point out of this game, that'd be mental. If you get, it sounds bad, doesn't it? A draw at home, but it's against Man City. Like we're not playing Charlton Athletic here. We're not, you know what I mean? We're not Coventry City. We're not. Do you know what I mean? Manchester City are coming to the Stadium at night, and Haaland is probably going to want some goals because he's had a couple of games blank now.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I think it's going to be a thing. I mean, bearing that in mind, Kev, obviously we said I mean, personally, I'd like to see us play a little bit more attacking formation. But do you think now, though, that we are going to maybe I say just stick with the one up front?
It seems to be the way we go. I feel that's the way we are going with it all the time. And it's either, like you said, Robbie does the main shift and then Wilson comes on and does the bit part, or Wilson does the main shift and Robbie does the bit part. That seems to be the mainstay. I do feel for my ender. I felt, fans that sit near me were saying, "Oh, he did nothing. He brought nothing to the game." He was brought on as probably one of the only options left available in a position of just try and keep the ball up our end for a bit. Because against Leeds, we seem to get into this 10-minute spell of header tennis when the tallest player on the pitch was Mukiele on his own. No offense to Chris Rigg, you're not going to win a header against, Stack, who was, what's he, 6'3", 6'4"?
Yeah.
Like, we're not talking about the Leeds game anymore, but that's what we can't do against City. We can't go into this, we'll just soak up the pressure, because if Foden's fit, if Haaland's fit, it's not going to work. Let's be brutally honest.
Yeah, I mean, that is it, its entirety, isn't it? I mean, they're a wealth of talent. I mean, let's face it, when that team sheet's announced at 6:45 or whenever it is on Thursday night, their bench is probably going to be worth more than our entire starting 11. And that's the thing. If they can put that amount of, talent on the bench, then yeah, it's gonna be a hard night. But
it'd be
it's
a
first
good
one of the new
idea if
year.
they could just leave Oscar Bob with us, though, because on the second, hopefully we just go in and get him.
Yeah, that would be quite nice. Yeah, I mean, but I know there's obviously that all starts again as well, the transfer window, and we've got to strengthen and stuff in certain places. Obviously we're diverse in a little bit. I mean, we are talking that we might lose Arthur Masuaku by all reports. Not that he's made any impact with us at all. So I don't think he's going to be one that's missed at all there. But I mean, yeah, it's going to be a real tough game, and it is, I think, a case of trying to keep Haaland quiet. But then you've got to think, if you're doing that, then you let in the likes of Cherky, Doku, Foden, Reinders, etc. Plus their
I'm glad we've both got the
centre-backs.
pronunciation right there, mate. I think Adam's going to call him reindeers.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't have an input.
Yeah. Obviously, they can score a worldie from outside the box as well, as we full well know. I mean, it's happened against us a few times with Man City, unfortunately. But look, I don't think we can really much say anything else on how we're going to set up and things like that. It just comes to predictions. So, Adam, as a novelty, we'll come to you first.
Well, that's a surprise.
I'll be very surprised if you go for your standard 3-0 to us today.
Well, he probably will, because he's been on the eggnog.
Well, by what you said about, Ballard coming back in and Hatrara dropping back into a back six when it's only 5, then obviously I'm not really sure you know,
I don't know where I said
where
a
he's
back
going to
six
go.
from. I said a back five. No, for me, I'm going to just go for the trademark result when we play City at home, and it has been in the past. I'm going to stick to a 1-0 to us. I just think we've got enough about ourselves, and I think Regis would have done his homework on the first time we played them this season. Obviously, it was only a few weeks back, and obviously we got beat. I think he's probably learned, so to speak, learned the lesson, and obviously learned a big lesson against the Leeds game. So I think he'll try and shut up shop to try and not allow them to attack us as much as normal. And I think we'll be able to sneak it.
I'll have some of what he's having.
Yeah, I was going to say, what sort of sneaking are we doing there, Adam?
I mean, I would say
if we can convince VAR that an offside goal is not an offside goal, then I'll take that.
I mean, I would say 2-0 is a good scoreline, but I think it's going to go the other way. Like, if we, like, do you know what I mean? I think a win would be incredible. If something like that happened, people would be wondering what on earth happened after the Leeds game.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I think coming out of that with a draw would be mental. But I think realistically, lads, I don't want to sound down on this one. I think it's going to be a 2-0 defeat. I think they're just going to be City. Sorry about that, lads.
No,
City on the
fair
charge.
enough. Obviously, I mean, we've, I'll just wrap it up with this little bit before I give my prediction. Obviously, we've gone unbeaten in the Premier League at home in 2025. Obviously, Kev's predicting it won't go into 2026. However, I actually think we will get something out of this. I would love to be very, very optimistic and think we're going to sneak a game by an odd goal, but I honestly think this one might finish 2-2. I've just got a strange feeling that, look, City, they're hard to stop scoring. We saw how quick they scored against us in the first game at their place, but this isn't at the Etihad. It's at the Stadium of Light. We are a lot stronger there. The fans will be on sides. Hopefully everyone will stay behind the lads. We've talked about it previously, how important it is. The worst thing to do is turn that place toxic. It doesn't help anybody whatsoever. And you got to think there's a lot of the new lads that have come in have only experienced the good side of it. Let's not get the negative side of it. As Kev said, it's a free hit. If we do get something from it, then great. But I do think that we'll come away with at least a point, and it'll. I'm not going to say make people question us even more, but it's just going to cement the fact that we are a much better team than what we were going to be given credit for, even with all the new signings, the 14 of them coming in the summer. Obviously, Liverpool made so many excuses as to why, when they've had like 6 or 7 players come in, how they couldn't make them all gel, and yet Regis and the coaching staff have made them gel, made them into a team. I think we've got the best signing so far in Granit Xhaka. His leadership qualities on another level. And to me, he won't want to lose this game. I don't think he'll want to lose any game, and I think he's got enough belief in the squad and group of lads as it is that we will get something from it. So from there, all we've got to say to everyone is hope you had a lovely Christmas. We're wishing you all a happy new year from the pods. Obviously, all of us. Any questions, like we always say, chuck it down Spotify, Apple Pods, Instagram. Obviously, Kev doing a wonderful job on TikTok as well, etc. Just let us know and we'll try and fit them in and answer what we can. But look, had a great new year in the Premier League 2025, and let's hope 2026 brings us to more heights.